So here's something pretty cool that I picked up from a consignment store. This is a butter dish, an antique butter dish made of glass. Dates back to the Great Depression, and it's actually made from uranium glass. And some of you might know about uranium glass. I first found out about it on the show Pawn Stars, but it's a type of glass that has uranium oxide mixed into it for this very distinctive kind of lime green color. And glassware was kind of a big deal in the Depression. It was the kind of thing where, like, a lot of people are like, okay, if we're having issues, you know, making ends meet, we're at least going to have like nice glassware. And a lot of companies catered to that and made glass affordable glassware that people could buy and kind of still, you know, kind of feel like they weren't poor. And they would use all kinds of additives to obviously to make the glass different colors. And it has uranium oxide in it, which uranium oxide is basically uranium rust. Iron oxide is iron rust. It's basically just uranium that has oxidized, as a lot of things do on planet Earth, because we have a oxygen-rich atmosphere, and oxygen is highly reactive. So basically you can kind of think of it as uranium rust. And the thing that makes this really distinctive, of course, is that it's UV reactive. It glows under what's commonly called black light. And it only cost me $7.48. And I looked up online. This is made by Hazel Atlas, which was an old glassware company back then. And I looked up this exact butter dish online, and even it originally came with a lid, kind of like a tall lid, like a lot of butter dishes. You know, you might be familiar with what they look like. This one came without the lid, but even without the lid, I think that I paid about half of what it's worth. So it was a really good deal. And I think a lot of people walked by it not even really knowing that it was special in any way. And the UV reactiveness, see, it even kind of glows under regular light, because all light has some UV light in it. So actually, like, technically it's glowing right now. And I like to prop it against the wall like this because it really brings out the green, because the light shines through, hits the wall, and then has to go back through the green glass. So it really kind of emphasizes the color when you have it propped up against the wall like that. It's kind of propped up against my bookshelf because there's a slight gap between the shelf and the wall, but it's not wide enough for it to fall through. But the actual UV reactivity, or UV, it's not because necessarily of the fact that it has uranium oxide mixed into it. They mixed in as much as I think 2%. So you do have some pieces that actually are fairly radioactive. They're not so bad that you can't be around them. Like this butter dish, for example, probably gives out about the same amount of radiation as a typical cell phone or tablet. But considering that it's made out of glass, it's made out of something completely non-electrical, that's, you know, fairly significant. Unfortunately, I don't have a Geiger counter. I wish I did. But I do know for sure that this is uranium glass because I tested it right after buying it. I actually asked them at the consignment store if they had a black light, and they said that they did, but the person who knew where it wasn't there. So, whatever. But it was true. It turned out to be uranium glass. I actually tested it at a science store that was really nearby. But anyway, the fact that sorry, I have a little bit of not a cold, but kind of stuffy. But anyway, the fact that it's UV reactive, it doesn't necessarily come from the fact that it's radioactive. Because there are a lot of things that are UV reactive. Like, for example, this yo-yo, which you might have seen in one of my previous, actually a couple of my previous videos, it's UV reactive as well. And it doesn't have any uranium oxide in it. So lots of things are uranium active, not just stuff with uranium oxide in them. But anyway, pretty cool piece. I've seen some uranium glass since then. I went to an antique shop and they had some dishes and small plates and teacups. None of them were as thick as this, so they didn't really have the same color. You can see little chips in it, but that's kind of proof that it's old, because the tiny little chips have kind of smoothed over. So it's kind of proof of its age, which, I mean, once you turn the UV light on, that it's pretty definitive, because they don't make this stuff anymore, especially not as glassware. It is made in Europe for artwork sometimes, but not this kind of glassware. And then you see the Hazel Atlas logo. So I just thought I'd share that. And if you have anything to say about uranium glass or any questions, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel Captain Unusual. If you want more cool videos on kind of hobby-oriented stuff and DIY life hacks and stuff like that. And thanks for watching. We'll catch you in the next video.